What's up, guys? We are back for Foundations number 2. Now, if you haven't watched Foundations number 1 yet, go back and start with number 1. But here we are at number 2, and we're just going to jump right into it. Now, if you remember from the last video, we talk about how to train, eat, sleep, and think, because we believe that those are the 4 areas where you can pass the test of life and live excellent. And so today we are going to talk about sleep. Okay. Now, here's the thing about sleep. We can't always control the quantity of sleep, like especially if you got kids, like and young kids at that. Like you just know that sleep is uninterrupted, and there's a lot of things in life, work schedules and kids schedules, and meetings that pop up and things like that. We don't always have a great amount of control over the amount of sleep we get, the quantity of sleep, but we can influence the quality of sleep we get. So that's what we're going to control, because that's the thing we have the most control over. And it starts with something that I call the 10-3-2-1-0 rule. This is some kind of a list of habits that we have picked up over the years that say, okay, these can really strongly influence the quality of our sleep. Now, here's a good thing. Each of these things is independent of one another. However, the more of these habits that you stack, the better quality sleep you'll get. Okay. So rule number 1, or excuse me, 10, I should say, is 10 hours before bed. You need to get rid of caffeine, 86 caffeine, get rid of it. Caffeine is very powerful. And for some people are more caffeine sensitive than others. Either way, what you need to know is that caffeine is what's called a psychoactive drug. It affects the receptors in your brain specifically. And we all kind of know this, right? Have a cup of coffee, an energy drink. It helps you kind of stay focused and moving, right? The closer to bed you have caffeine, the harder it is for your brain to clear all that caffeine out and get you down into the deep sleep that your body needs. Now, here's the thing. I used to be the guy that said, hey, I can drink a Monster and go right to bed. And that, for some people, is true. That is the case. However, your brain can't. Your brain will stay active because the caffeine is in those receptors doing things. And so you may be able to sleep, but you won't be able to get to the deep sleep that your body really, truly needs. So you want to make sure you buffer your caffeine by about 10 hours. Why 10 hours? Because caffeine has a half-life of about 6 to 8 hours. So what that means is it takes your body 6 to 8 hours to get through half of the caffeine that you've consumed. So if you give yourself 10 hours, you've gone through most of it, and you're probably going to be pretty safe. So try to keep your caffeine to the morning if you have to have it, and control the amount that you have and when you consume it. Okay, so easy peasy, pretty straightforward. For some folks, this is a non-issue. For some folks, this is going to be really, really difficult. I would tell you, if you're somebody who drinks a lot of caffeine, don't go cold turkey on this. Ease your way back, baby step your way back. And again, give yourself about a 10-hour buffer between your last dose of caffeine and bedtime. Okay, now the next thing on the list is about sunlight. Yes, it's technically a 3, right? 10, 3, 2, 1, but 10, 30 didn't really make sense. So 10, 3, 2, 1, 0. The 3 is actually a 30. It's 30 minutes of sunlight. Now, we all know that sunlight is good for us because it helps us produce vitamin D, and vitamin D plays a huge role in a lot of different stuff. We also know that sunlight can help with mood and things like that. One of the things that we have learned is that sunlight absorbed through your eyes with no filters, meaning no windows, no windshields, no sunglasses, none of that. Sunlight absorbed through your eyes is one of the things that helps trigger the production of melatonin for later use. And so most of us spend all day inside. Like We're in our houses when we wake up, then we go get in our car, we drive to work. Many of us wear sunglasses or we have filtered windshields. And then we get to the office, we're outside for just a couple of minutes to get into the office, and then we're under fluorescent lights or LEDs all day long. And then, we go home. And so we're never really out in the sunshine for extended periods of time. Well, one of the reasons why so much of our society has trouble falling asleep is because we're not outside in the sunlight to create the melatonin that we need for later use to fall asleep and stay asleep. So, as little as 30 minutes in the sunshine. Now, the earlier in the day, the better. That tends to be what the research is showing right now. But 30 minutes of sunshine through your eyeballs, no sunglasses or anything like that, is enough to help you have the melatonin you need for later in the day to go to sleep and stay asleep. Okay. So go for a walk. Go eat your lunch outside. Get outside in the sunshine during the day. Even if it's cloudy, guys, it's the radiation from the sun that actually helps us. So it doesn't necessarily have to be super bright. You just need that sun exposure for about 30 minutes per day. Okay. So the next thing on the list, now we start getting into the hard stuff. Okay. 2 hours before bed, you need to take a break from work. Just give yourself a buffer. Okay. This is where we get into, like, does it have to be a hard and fast 2 hours? No, but you want to give yourself about 2 hours between the last little bit of work you do and bedtime. Why? Because even if you love what you do, work is stressful. It just is. Like, and it's not stressful in that it's bad for you. It's just stressful because you care and you're trying to get things done. And so if you're somebody who brings work home with you and you're working right up until you try to go to bed, it is very difficult for your body, for your brain, to clear all those stress hormones out, to get them out of the way so that you can ease down and get to bed. So what you want to do is give yourself some time, some buffer for your body to go through and clear all that stress hormone out of there, right? The most popular stress hormone that gets talked about is cortisol, right? Cortisol is a bad rap. It's not a bad hormone. It's just at the wrong times, it can cause a lot of issues, right? Really high cortisol levels while you're trying to go to sleep is not it. Like, you don't want them really high right before bed. We need to bring those down so that all those other sleep hormones can come in and relax you and help you go to sleep. So you need some buffer. Doesn't need to be a hard and fast 2 hours. No, but give yourself about 2 hours. Now, here's the thing. I get it. Sometimes you're going to have things where it's like it's a special project for work and I've got to get it done because I'm pushing on a deadline. Okay, that's fine if it's occasional. But when it becomes like I have to be on my laptop at all times, or I have, my email on my phone or whatever, it's like, no, dude, you need to give yourself some buffer. Shut off the notifications from work, close the laptop, and give yourself some space so that you can wind down and get some good rest. You'll be more productive tomorrow if you just get good rest tonight. Okay, so that's the 2. The 1 is now we talk about maybe the hardest thing in our society to date, which is our screens. So about an hour before bed, you need to get rid of screens. Okay. Why? This all comes from blue light. And that's why all of our phones and all of our tablets now have blue light filters on them. And even a lot of newer TVs have blue light filters on them that kick on at a certain time. And that all stems from this idea that, the dominant wavelength of light from the sun is blue wavelength light. What we've discovered is blue wavelength light is connected to the release of cortisol. See, we talked about that again. Cortisol really high first thing in the morning because the sun has come through the window or whatever that is. That's the get up and go and get stuff done hormone, right? That's what cortisol really is. And so if blue light is pouring into your body while you're trying to wind down for bed, even though the screen may feel calming from a psychological perspective, from a physiological perspective, it's causing an issue, right? Is this the biggest of issues? Maybe, maybe not. but it's worth it to give yourself an hour of buffer time between putting the screens away and getting ready for bed. Does it have to be a hard and fast hour? Again, no, but you want to give yourself about an hour. Why? Well, number one, it gives us some space from those blue wavelength lights. And this is phones and tablets and TVs and all that stuff like that. Like all of that. Get it out of your life for about an hour before bed so that your brain can start clearing all those hormones and you can start winding down for the day. Now, here's the benefit to this. This is the first time I'm going to tell you, hey, stop this so that you can start something else. Okay. Here's what I mean by that. Okay. So you're going to do whatever it is to put your screens away. That's going to be a habit cue, right? So the TV is turned off, the laptop, the tablet, the phone, whatever gets put in its place. Now that's a habit cue to start your bedtime habit. Now here's the cool part about this. Your bedtime loop, and if you have kids, you know this intuitively. You created a bedtime loop for your kids because it starts training their brain like, oh, it's time to go to sleep. We're the same. Our bodies, our brains function better off of habit than anything else. So if you can create a bedtime habit loop that doesn't include screens, what'll happen now is whatever that looks like, when you travel, now you have a bedtime habit loop. And one of the hardest parts of traveling is getting good sleep because you're in a weird place with weird beds and weird pillows and it's just weird, right? Well, if I've got a bedtime habit loop, if I just start my habit loop, my brain automatically knows, oh, it's bedtime. And you'll fall asleep easier, even on the road. So we want to create a habit loop that looks exactly the same every time we do it. And now what that does is it primes our brain for bed. And now we can get to our good sleep faster. And that's what we want out of this. So it's more than just like, hey, we've got to get rid of the screens. We've actually just got to replace the screens with some other habits. What those look like, that's up to you, right? Like maybe you're somebody who likes to have a cup of like herbal tea or warm milk. Okay, do that. Read a book, brush your teeth, put your pajamas on, like create a loop that's the same every time. And at about the 60-day mark, it will literally just become habit. And now you're just doing it out of that habit and your brain knows, oh, this is my cue that it's coming up on bedtime and I can be done. And you'll fall asleep faster. Okay. This is something that I urge everybody to try and do because it's just going to influence your sleep to be better no matter what. Okay. Now, the last one on the list, that's 0. So far, these have all been like pre-bedtime habits. Okay. Or, prepping for bedtime. This next one is kind of like the next morning. Okay. And it's 0 snooze buttons. Okay. Here's the thing about snooze buttons. Snooze buttons will set you up for a harder day. And so we want to work to eliminate snooze buttons. We want to get up with the first alarm. And there's some psychology to this and there's some physiology to this. Okay. The physiology, the body chemistry stuff. All right. Here's the thing. If you've ever seen a sleep graph, right, you kind of have an idea of what this looks like. If you don't, a sleep graph kind of looks like peaks and valleys is kind of what it looks like, right? So like you're up in your REM sleep, so you're almost kind of awake, right? Your rapid eye movement sleep, and then you kind of cycle down into that deep sleep where it feels like that's the good stuff that we all really love, okay? And then you kind of cycle out of that, and at about every 90 minutes, you just kind of up and down and up and down and up and down through those cycles. When your alarm goes off in the morning, wherever you're at in your cycle, boom, you wake up, right? You wake up enough to roll over and turn off that alarm, okay? Waking up enough is waking up. You've disturbed that sleep cycle now. And a lot of us have this idea that if I just shut it off, I can roll over and pick up where I left off. But that's not how the sleep cycle works. You now have to start that sleep cycle over. Well, then 11 minutes or 14 minutes or whatever your snooze button is set for, now that alarm goes off again. And now I have to start over. And then I hit the snooze again and I have to start over. And it creates this loop called sleep inertia, where it's this blending of like sleepy chemicals and wake up chemicals, and they're not really supposed to blend in the brain. And so then by the time you finally get yourself out of bed, you feel even more tired than when you first started. And there's a reason for that, because you have all of those chemicals blending. If you allow yourself to get up with your first alarm, what will end up happening is, yes, you are a little groggy to wake up, right? It's hard to get out of bed with that first alarm. But if you get out of bed with that first alarm, the fog lifts faster and you'll get moving and you'll be more productive throughout your day. Okay. Because you're not feeling the effects of like the go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, wake up. Now, if you're somebody who is like a 7 alarm person, because we all use our phones now, right? And so it used to be, it's like, oh, I hit the snooze button on the actual alarm clock. Well, now we use our phones. And so we'll set, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 alarms. I had somebody tell me one time they have 12 alarms to get up. That's just crazy. Here's what you do is, whatever time it is that you finally go, I have to get up right now, I have to go right now, that's what time your alarm should go off. Okay. One alarm. That's when that alarm goes off. That alarm goes off. I get up. Okay. The benefit to that is, if let's say I have to get up at 6 a.m. and I've got alarms starting at 5, that means I've got a full hour of interrupted sleep. Whereas if I just set the alarm for 6, I have a full hour of uninterrupted sleep and I'm going to feel more rested. Now, if I have to get up at 6, but I'd like to get up more closer to 5 so I can have some extra time to do some things, okay, I'm going to get to 1 alarm. So maybe I started with 5 alarms. I'm going to work my way down to 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, okay, which is that 6 a.m. alarm. But I'd really like to get up at 5:30. Okay, well, now that I'm down to 1 alarm, now I'm going to move that alarm back to 5:50. And I'm going to do that for a couple of weeks. And then I'm going to move it back to 5:40. And I'm going to do that for a couple of weeks. And now I'm back to 5:30. And I can inch my way back that way. But don't start there, okay? And don't go cold turkey to just 1. Work your way down to 1 alarm, the alarm that says, I have to get up right here. Not when I'd like to get up, I have to get up. And then you can work your way back to when I'd like to get up. That's how you're going to build a healthy get up habit. Now, what's the psychology piece to this? So I learned this from a guy named Jocko Willink. And for those of you guys that know Jocko, you know how intense he is. If you don't know who Jocko Willink is, he's one of the most decorated Navy SEALs of the Iraq Wars. He is also now a brilliant business leader. And he has done some really cool stuff as far as like taking control of your life. And one of the things he talks about is, in the military, he explained it this way to his guys. He said, look, when you get up with 1 alarm, you have now checked the first box of the day. You have passed the first task of the day. And now you can start checking off tasks down the line. Okay, I got out of bed. What's the next thing? Make my bed. What's the next thing? Go take a shower. What's the next? And you can start just checking things off. And it seems trivial, but those little things build momentum through the day because you've trained your brain. I'm somebody who does what I said I'm going to do. And you're proving that to yourself. Okay. On the other hand, when you hit the snooze button, what you're doing is you're telling your brain, I'm going to procrastinate today. I don't really care if I'm productive today. And it might not be an outright saying of that, but it's a subconscious message that you're sending to yourself that it's not really important that I'm productive. So we want to bias towards just 1 alarm so that we feel good about it. We said we'd get up at 6. We're up at 6, right? I said I was going to get up at 5:40. I'm up at 5:40 with 1 alarm, uninterrupted sleep until that one goes off. And then when alarm goes off, I get up and I get after my day so I can feel good about being productive through the day. Here's the thing. If I feel good about how productive I was through the day, at the end of the day, I'm less stressed, which means I'll sleep better. Okay. Now, this isn't all going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time to build these habits in and do these things really well. But if you take the time to build these habits into your sleep patterns, you will sleep better. You might not be able to always get the 8 hours that you like, but you'll get more out of the, 6 that you get. And that's what we want to get after. We can try to institute things around our schedule to get us to the amount of sleep that we would like. But for now, let's take control of the quality of the sleep that we can get. That way we can feel rested and be productive. All right. All right, guys. That's it for number 2. If you have any questions, as always, shoot me an email, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.